What if the worst day of your life is secretly protecting you? What if the door that just closed is the very thing that keeps you safe? And what if the pain you are feeling right now is part of a plan you simply cannot see yet? We all face moments when life feels unfair. We ask, why me? Why did this happen now? Why did I lose this opportunity? Why did things fall apart when I tried so hard to keep them together? Sometimes we suffer, sometimes we succeed, and in both moments we forget something important. We forget that time reveals what emotions cannot. There was once a quiet town resting between rolling hills and a wide silver river. It was the kind of place where mornings arrived gently and evenings settled like a warm blanket over the land. In that town lived a middle-aged man named Thomas Carter. Thomas was not rich, he was not powerful. He did not own much, but he owned enough. He had a small wooden house, a modest field behind it, and a pair of steady hands that had worked the soil for decades. He lived there with his only son, Michael. And on that small farm, they had one treasure that meant more than gold. A beautiful brown horse named Scout. Scout was strong, fast, and unusually intelligent. He could plow the fields with strength, carry supplies with balance, and seemed to understand Thomas's voice like a loyal friend. To Thomas and Michael, Scout was not simply an animal. He was family. People in town admired that horse. One afternoon, a wealthy investor from the nearby city arrived in a shining black car. His name was Richard Bennett. He had heard about Scout and wanted to see him for himself. When Richard saw the horse standing tall in the sunlight, his eyes widened. "I'll give you a generous sum for him," he said. "More than you've ever earned in a year." The offer was tempting, very tempting. Michael's heart pounded. With that money, they could repair the house, buy better equipment, maybe even send him to a good school. But Thomas simply smiled. "Thank you," he said gently. "But Scout is not for sale." The investor was surprised. The townspeople were even more shocked. When word spread, neighbors gathered in small groups whispering, "Thomas has lost his mind. That horse was his chance to escape poverty. Only a fool refuses that kind of money." Thomas heard their comments. He nodded politely. He did not argue. 2 days later, something unexpected happened. Scout disappeared. The stable door had been left slightly open during a stormy night, and by morning, the horse was gone. Thomas and Michael searched everywhere. They called his name through the fields, the woods, and along the riverbank. Nothing. By evening, exhaustion and disappointment hung heavy in the air. The neighbors returned. "Now look what happened. You refused fortune and now you've lost everything. This is what stubbornness brings." Michael felt anger rising inside him. He clenched his fists. "Father," he said quietly, "we should have sold him." Thomas placed a hand on his son's shoulder. "Maybe losing him is bad," he said calmly. "Maybe it is not. We cannot decide that today." Michael didn't understand. How could this possibly be anything but bad? But Thomas continued working the next morning as he always did. He repaired fences. He watered crops. He moved with steady patience, as though nothing had changed. 3 days later, at sunrise, a distant sound echoed through the valley. Hooves. Michael ran outside. There, charging across the open field, was Scout, and he was not alone. Behind him followed 6 wild horses, strong, untamed, powerful. They had come down from the northern hills, and somehow Scout had led them home. The town erupted with excitement. "Thomas is blessed. He is the luckiest man alive. He lost 1 horse and gained 7. People who once mocked him now congratulated him. Michael's face shone with amazement, but Thomas only smiled. "Perhaps this is good," he said. "Or perhaps it is not. We will see." Over the next weeks, Michael began training the wild horses. He worked tirelessly from morning to night, learning their personalities, gaining their trust. Slowly, the animals became manageable. There was hope in the air. With 7 horses, their small farm could grow into something bigger. They could transport goods, earn more income, build a better life. But one afternoon, as Michael attempted to ride one of the strongest horses, the animal panicked. In a sudden burst of fear, it threw him violently to the ground. A sharp crack echoed across the yard. Michael's leg was broken. The pain was unbearable. His face turned pale. Sweat covered his forehead. Thomas carried his son inside and called for the doctor. The town began whispering again. "Those wild horses brought trouble. This is punishment for greed." Thomas should have left things alone. Michael lay in bed for days, frustrated and discouraged. "Father," he said one night through clenched teeth, "this time it is truly bad." Thomas sat beside him quietly. "My son," he replied, "when a single moment happens, we cannot label it forever. Let time speak." Michael turned away. He was too tired to argue. Then, 1 week later, news arrived that shook the entire region. War had broken out across the country. The government ordered all young men fit for service to report immediately. Soldiers came through town with lists of names. One by one, young men were taken from their homes. Mothers wept in doorways. Fathers stood stiff with forced strength. Friends embraced in silence. Michael watched from his bed as his closest friends were led away. But when the soldiers reached the Carter house, they looked at Michael's cast and shook their heads. "He's not fit," one soldier said. "Leave him." And just like that, they moved on. They moved. Weeks passed, then months. Letters stopped arriving. Rumors of heavy losses spread. Many of the young men who had left never returned. The town was filled with grief. Homes that once echoed with laughter now carried silence. One evening, a neighbor stood at Thomas's gate, tears streaming down her face. "My son," she whispered. "He's gone." She looked at Michael sitting beside his father. "You are so fortunate," she said. Thomas did not smile this time. He bowed his head respectfully. Later that night, Michael sat beside him on the porch. The air was cool. The sky was filled with quiet stars. "I understand now," Michael said softly. Thomas looked at him but did not speak. "When Scout ran away, I thought we were cursed. When he returned with the wild horses, I thought we were blessed. When I broke my leg, I thought my life was ruined. But if I had not fallen," his voice trembled, "I would have gone to war." Thomas nodded. "Life is not a straight line," he said gently. "It moves like the river, twisting, turning, flowing in ways we cannot predict." Michael breathed deeply. "So how should we live?" he asked. Thomas looked out at the horizon. "When something good happens, be grateful, but do not cling to it as permanent. When something painful happens, endure it, but do not declare it the end of your story." He paused. Time carries truth. Years passed. The war ended. The town slowly rebuilt itself. The Carter farm grew steadily. The trained horses became valuable for trade and travel. Michael healed fully, stronger and wiser than before. People often came to Thomas for advice. "How do you stay so calm?" they asked. He would smile and answer simply, "I have learned not to judge the day before it ends." And so the lesson spread quietly through the town. Good and bad are not enemies. They are chapters. What feels unfair today may be protection in disguise. What feels like success today may be a test of humility tomorrow. We cannot see the full picture from inside a single moment. Maybe right now, you are going through something that feels unbearable. Maybe you lost an opportunity. Maybe someone walked away, maybe a dream collapsed, and you are asking why. But what if the answer is not meant for today? What if the closed door is guiding you toward a safer path? What if the delay is strengthening you for something greater? We are quick to celebrate and quick to despair, but wisdom teaches balance. When joy arrives, welcome it gently. When hardship arrives, endure it patiently. Everything changes, everything moves, everything passes. The storm that frightens you today may water the field that feeds you tomorrow. The loss that hurts you now may protect you from deeper sorrow later. Trust does not mean you will understand immediately. Faith does not mean you will never feel pain. It means you choose patience over panic. It means you allow time to reveal what your emotions cannot. Thomas never claimed to know the future. He simply refused to let one moment define his entire life. And you can do the same. When life feels unfair, pause. Breathe. Remember that you are seeing only one page of a much longer story. Do not let temporary pain convince you that the ending is already written. It is not. Stay steady during success. Stay steady during struggle. Balance is strength. If this story touched your heart, take a moment to reflect on what season you are in right now. Are you celebrating or are you enduring? Either way, hold on. Time is still moving. If you found meaning in this message, please leave a like. Share this story with someone who may need encouragement today, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that remind us of what truly matters. Thank you for listening. May you have health in your body, peace in your heart, and faith strong enough to carry you through every season of life.